Hi all, it's really cold here in Bloom. Today I'm talking about Agenda 2030. I'm talking about the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, Bank of International Settlements, basically the financial web, as well as legal administrative web that is being created to give the archons that are in control of this inverted matrix complete top-down control. So let's just quickly step back to egregoires. Remember, I told you that a hypernorm is almost like the zeitgeist of a time because it is the overarching ideology. And this influences, you can see this almost like matrix programming because this influences how people think, right? It's the script in a weird way. So in South Africa, it was ethno-nationalism in the apartheid years, and even financial imperatives as well as, let's say, religious imperatives would be subservient to it, right? And people didn't even see that. They didn't even know, because that's the thing of a hypernorm. You don't know that it's controlling you. Then after that, it changed to transformation. And then we saw what happened with transformation worldwide, where the LGBTQI agenda, and I mean, there are positive parts to that, of course, but transformation started out beautiful and then it became warped, right? And then after that, when lockdown hit, the hypernorm changed to health and safety. Now, the thing about health and safety is if you look at the Second World War, health and safety was also in control, or it was the hypernorm at that stage. And it is the hypernorm that allows top-down totalitarian control to be asserted the most because it's for your safety. Okay, so when lockdown hit, all of a sudden, because we were in a state of emergency, our governments worldwide started to adhere to the World Health Organization as well as the World Economic Forum. So you would see the leaders wearing those little circles with the almost like a Trivial Pursuit little circle with the different little cheeses, but it's different colors. That is the World Economic Forum's logo, right? So all of a sudden we went from independent governments, right? Free, independent, maybe even Republican, but republics. We went to one world international law and top-down control, and people were told what they were not able to do and what they should do. And if you switched on the news, everyone was saying the same thing, right? Isolate, stay home, get your vaccination, blah, 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 right? In South Africa, it was actually worse because we couldn't even smoke cigarettes, and we had not just lockdown, but after that we had curfews, right? Which, I mean, is unheard of. Nobody voted that in, but that happened with the state of emergency. Now, the thing is, if people are not aware of hypernorms, matrix programming, top-down control, history, basic general knowledge, they won't notice when this happens, right? So most people just went into fear when lockdown happened, and they did what they were told, and nobody wondered about, wait a minute, where are this coming from? Where are these instructions coming from? Who is our president listening to, right? Who's telling him what international law, where, what? Well, so obviously we've got the United Nations as well, but the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization really became visible during lockdown, right? And they absolutely function now under the new hypernorm because that's what archons do, right? They use the hypernorm, which is the current script, to slowly usher people into it's like a totalitarian tiptoe. So more and more and more and more and more control. And it's really naive to think that they're all just doing this for our best. So if you look at China, China has the social credit system. Please do yourself a favor. This is not conspiracy. Just Google China social credit system, and then you will see what they have is mass surveillance as well as facial recognition, and people pay with their phones. And they've now started to pilot, actually 2 or 3 years ago already, the social credit system where everything works with facial recognition, and you actually have programmable currency, and you pay with your phone. And if you do something that goes against the hypernorm or goes against the government or goes against the laws, in other words, if you jaywalk or if you say something against government or if you don't pay your taxes, your social score goes down, and then you actually lose access to certain things like good schools, buses, whatever. So this is complete control, right? With the help of the fourth industrial revolution, which is AI. So let's get to the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab, lovely, lovely villain type-esque dude, looks like a Bond villain, right? He is head of the World Economic Forum, and they have put forward Agenda 2030, which under the guise of sustainable development is trying to fight global warming. So remember, health and safety, right? It's for your safety. So this global warming initiative to be more sustainable is for your safety. We have carbon tax for your safety. We have 15-minute cities. Google that, please. It's sketchy AF. For your safety. And eventually we'll bring in this social credit system for your safety. We will take cash away for your safety, because if you touch cash, you can get sick, and nobody wants to get sick. So this is pretty crazy, right? And they're not even hiding it. Like I said in a previous video, it's mosaic warfare, right? So they're keeping us busy here, and then international legislation as well as financial sniping, right, is happening worldwide. So just to give you an example, during lockdown, there were actually 3 African presidents, I don't have their names with me right now, who did not want to adhere to the World Economic Forum and force their people to vaccinate. All 3 of them were killed, right? So that's kind of hectic, right? That's kind of hectic. So something's going on here that's much bigger. And then obviously the World Health Organization, who basically, they're just pushing vaccines now. They used to be definitely, a bit more health oriented, but now they're more financially oriented. Also, part of the World Economic Forum's Agenda 2030 is massive farming initiatives, also using AI. So words to look out for: fourth industrial revolution, right? Global warming, how to use the fourth industrial revolution, in other words, AI, top-down control, complete surveillance, blah, 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 to help with global warming. That's the one thing on the agenda. To help with farming, right? So in other words, we don't have normal, natural, individual farmers, but massive industrial farmers using Roundup, Monsanto, making money, blah, 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 blah. And then how to protect people from themselves. So that would be the 15-minute cities. So Maui had, remember Maui had fires. There have been fires all over the place, and it's pretty interesting that right after the fires, they started building 15-minute cities. The people who had lost their houses couldn't get the papers to actually rebuild, and what would you call them? The Maui people actually stood up against this, right? But it never gets onto the news because big companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, can't remember the third one now, they own everything. So this is the problem. We are in a corporatocracy, and it's worldwide, right? And if we're in a state of emergency, then all of a sudden the unelected minority can enforce top-down control in the name of health and safety. And most people on the ground, because they only watch the news and they don't really read, don't know this, right? So this is just a short little zabangle bangle bang. What can you look at? The social credit system in China, Agenda 2030 by the World Economic Forum. Look at Klaus Schwab. Look at the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Look at global warming initiatives, as well as industrial farming, using AI, carbon tax, as well as, the Bank of International Settlements. And guys, what really makes this crazy is all of this actually also ties into the whole Epstein Island thing, right? With sex trafficking and all of those issues, right? So everything ties in together. The archons really are like, they're nasty pieces of work, right? And yes, from a much higher perspective, they are our PhD professors unwittingly, right? Because we're all creating this. But from the three-dimensional perspective, we really need to be aware of what is going on in the simulation as to make the right decisions, not go into fear, not become black-pilled, right? But to make the right decisions. So that was just a short little blah, blah. Hope it helps.